that leading somebody to Jesus is one of the most joyful things that there is, if not the greatest thing in the world. I don't know if you've had a chance to be there when somebody finally yields to the life of Christ, but it is the greatest thing in the world. And so my question is, why does it seem like so many of us are waiting to share Jesus? Why does it seem like we're just kind of apprehensive and we think there's a better time? You know, what keeps us from sharing the message of Jesus with our friends, with our coworkers, with our family, with our with our colleagues, with everybody? You know, what keeps us? And I think a lot of the time it's because we tell ourselves, well, there's more time. Like there's going to be another time or another chance that I have, and you know, I'll just do that when it's a little bit more convenient for my schedule or all the pieces line up, and then miraculously, you know, I'll just wait for the divine appointment. You know, if it doesn't feel like a divine appointment, then it's not. You know, it's like, no, it's like, and then another thing is I think that a lot of times we're afraid of what they'll think. You know, we're afraid of rejection. You know, what are they going to think about me if I go out on a limb and I talk to them about the Lord? And then I think another mindset that we have sometimes is, isn't sharing the gospel sort of optional, or isn't that maybe just more for people who are really passionate about it, like Pastor Tim or whatever? And I just want to say, like, I have been guilty. Like, I have been guilty of not being active in sharing Jesus, especially when it comes to talking about him outside of Grace Church. And recently, God has been kind of reactivating me in sharing my faith, and it's partly having to do with what we're talking about, but it also has to do with Amy and I went down to the Go-To Nations gathering of the Finishers Conference back in the beginning of June, and there missionaries from all over the world came together, and they're just talking about how to finish the Great Commission. And I'm just thinking, like, we're just there, like, we're talking about finishing the Great Commission. You know, there's 2 billion people who are subscribers to Christianity right now that you know, if we're generous, there's 2 billion around the globe that are Christians, but then there's 7 billion. So there's a lot of billions of people who have not heard the gospel, and we're talking about finishing the Great Commission in our lifetime. And I'm like, man, that is an audacious, like, bold vision, you know, but we're there. And I don't know if any of you know Dr. Jerry Williamson. He came for one of our mission conferences, but he is a passionate, fiery preacher. And when he got up and talked about finishing the Great Commission, I got this fire in my belly that was like, oh my goodness, like, we've got to do this. Like, we have to do this. Like, if not us, then who? And I just remember thinking, like, Lord, today, like, I want an opportunity today. And then Nancy Lovelace, one of the other directors there, got up and shared, and she passionately proclaimed kind of the Go-To Nations visions. And I'm convicted, like the Holy Spirit is convicting me to stop being stagnant and passive and sharing Jesus with people. So that day, that same day, it was Wednesday of the conference, we're out at the pool of the hotel in Daytona, and we're out there just in the hot tub, and some of the students introduced me to some of the other students that were there, and there was one named Devin, and we just got to talking, and Devin was a missionary. He's an MK, missionary kid, family of 8, and I just, out of the blue, I just, from the Holy Spirit, just had this sense to ask him, do you know Jesus? But everything in me was like, of course he knows Jesus. Like, he's a missionary kid at a missions conference. Like, what are you talking about? But out of the blue, I'm just like, I'm just going to ask him. So we're in the pool, we're treading water. I said, Devin, do you know Jesus? And what he says is, yeah, I believe in him, but I'm not really a follower of him, and I don't really want to go down the path that my parents have gone down. And so after about an hour of talking and me kind of probing and getting to know him a little bit more, just me asking questions and him responding, he decides to surrender his life to Jesus. And it was this powerful moment. Yeah, this powerful moment. And I mean, we got out of the pool to pray. I mean, we weren't like in the pool the whole time, but we're praying, and he confesses the lordship of Jesus. He confesses his sin, but then the righteousness of Christ. He confesses his death, but Christ's life in him. And then I pray for the baptism of the Holy Spirit. That's what you're supposed to do, right? Like, when they're done confessing, like, let's just go right now. God has more for you. Let's ask him to pour out his power on your life. Because guess what? Starting from this moment, I just looked at him and said, starting from this moment, he has called you to make disciples. And I just looked at him and I said, Devin, you are a leader. And the look in his eyes that he gave back to me was clear that no one had ever called him up into that. That this was the first time anyone had told him that you, no matter how old you are, he was 15, but no matter how old you are, what skill sets you have a story to tell of Jesus changing your life, and you are called to go and share it